Welcome back to the Tigerium Hangar. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well on this hot Friday. And I want to say today we're going to talk about KOs of Fanstoys and how they're bringing the price down, how they're bringing the Fanstoys prices into check. We have yet another KO announced, another one of Thomas. Obviously, we're going to talk about this. And we're going to talk about what other KOs are planned, but there's rumors, but no actual pre-orders yet. And we're going to discuss the negative aspects, how this could negatively affect Fanstoys, negatively affect the market, and an even bigger factor that's going to affect price very, very soon. We'll talk about all this and more coming up. So the first KO out of the gate is a KO of their quietest, and this is MH Toys MH01 Hurricane Fleet Commander. Now this is a TF3 direct snapshot, and you can see that they want 115. If you do order this while it's in stock, then you can use a code to get like another $5 off of 100 or something like that. So take advantage of that if you do order this. But 115 versus like 220. 200, 220 for a standard Quietus. For a while there, though, the reissues of Quietus were commanding 300. So we're going to talk more about that here in a bit. But this does look like a solid contender. It actually looks like a really well-built figure with great paint. And maybe it's not as good as Fanstoys, but it's definitely going to put a hurt because there's a lot of people that are happy with it being pretty close. Yeah, true Fanstoys fanboys will happily pay twice as much to get the official, and that's just the way it is. That's the same thing with Takara. Same thing with people who collect Takara and don't collect Takara KOs, and that's fine too. But this KO is an option. It's available for $115. Recently, this RP44 Thomas was announced, and the thing is, this is a KO of Thomas, which is now going to be a cheaper option. Still, I don't know the price. For whatever reason, the price doesn't pop up until they come in stock or almost in stock or something along those lines. So with this, it's a big deal because Thomas has been commanding like $300 for a while, and a lot of these figures have been commanding $300-$400, and now you could get it for what? Maybe this will be $115 also, probably $115 also. So for $115 to get a Thomas, that's actually a big deal. And if the quality is really close on the Quietus, then you could expect the quality pretty close on this here too. So with that, this is an option for people to get multiples so that you can have one of each mode. It's kind of one of those things that a lot of people like to have one of each mode. And if you're going to go through the trouble of transforming this guy, you might as well leave him in that mode so you don't have to flip them back and forth because it's a bit of a chore. Now the funny thing is that this thing is coming out soon. It might even be out before the reissue, but there's an official reissue of Fanstoys Thomas coming also, like in December or something along those lines. And with that, the price on that's already starting to fall. We got retailers putting that one up for $200. The reissue for $200, which bucks the trend. We'll talk about the trend here in a little bit, but is definitely bucking the pricing trend we've been seeing from Fanstoys. One of the things I do wonder when you see these pictures and the KO company is showing the product, maybe they actually have an official and they're taking pictures of the official, but what you get is slightly different because it's their product. So I do bear that in mind. We may actually just be looking at pictures of an official Thomas with their mocked up packaging. So that's a possibility. And I will admit, you know, when you're knocking off a product, there's a little shady stuff going on there. So I wouldn't put it past them that they're just taking pictures of an official Thomas. Lupus is another high-profile figure that has been commanding a lot of money on the secondary market. So much, I don't have one. I've never owned one. I passed on them when they were $80, and which is my understanding, it's going to be about $80-$85 for the KO. So we're going back to 2014 pricing. So I love that. And with that fact, we should be getting a reissue from Fanstoys of the official. I'm actually curious what the pricing will be on the reissue of this from Fanstoys, seeing as how Thomas came out cheaper than the original price. What will be the price of the reissue from Fanstoys when this thing's coming out for about 80, 85, maybe 89 at the most? Okay, so the rumors are still swirling that Dracula is coming out. There's a reissue. I haven't seen pre-orders. I don't see it on TF Direct. but maybe it's named something different. I don't know. But I don't see any pre-orders up for a Dracula KO. And then there's also rumors that Fanstoys is going to reissue it, which I wouldn't be surprised that Fanstoys reissues it so that you can get your set. You can have your Chomp and your Dracula, and you can have your Lupus and put them all together and have a nice set there. So with all of that, I could see Fanstoys reissuing theirs, but I still haven't seen evidence of a KO, even though so many people say it's coming. Now, I've also heard rumors of Fanstoys Spotter, the reflector, and I don't think that is really going to happen. I haven't seen anything yet. Now, I could be surprised, but I haven't seen it yet. Now, I actually believe if Fanstoys did another reflector, it would be a 2.0 situation. It's good, and it's the best one that's been made, but it's very dated. I don't see why they would put it out. I also heard that there was something wrong with the mold. It's unusable for whatever reason. It is very old, so we're getting close to a decade old. Was 8 years old. So, yeah, that's an issue there, but I'm curious, though, would a KO company knock it off? I don't think so, but we'll see. But that's still one of those rumors that's floating around that this is getting knocked off. So I want to kind of frame this whole discussion about pricing getting adjusted and fixed price. The price is getting fixed for Fanstoys. And the thing is, when Coot got reissued, this was an $80 figure that came back out for $130. And they said, oh, yeah, there's some changes to it and all that. I didn't know of any changes that happened to it, and the boxes actually show 2017. So maybe they just reused the old boxes. Maybe they didn't update the artwork, but they've done that on subsequent reissues in 2021, but not on this figure for whatever reason. So they were charging $50 more for the same exact figure from my viewpoint and my standpoint. Until I could find exactly what was updated and changed, they had to redo this, that, and another on it, but I don't think they did. I really think they put it straight back out. And I think it was leftovers that they put back out the first time they reissued it. See, Fanstoys put their bugs back out for double the price. They went from $80 to $150, so almost double the price. And then a set costs crazy amounts, and then if you got gray paint, that's an extra $100. Gray paint costs $100. So with all of that and all of those issues, these are still in stock everywhere, pretty much. You can get them at most places. I think Show Z sold out though, but most places you can still get them, and you can get them cheaper than the original. Well, let's say the reissue price of 150. Well, they were wanting 200 a piece, but now 150 a piece is kind of the average, the norm, and then they go on sale. So these are still available. They'll probably get even cheaper before they sell out. I think the Dinobots are actually a really good value because Dinobots were commanding a lot of money, $600 a piece or 400, 600, whatever. And now you can get this guy for $250 at most places. And this is actually a great figure, and I'm definitely not knocking the figure or anything, but I feel like this is going to get even cheaper before it sells out also. So you're seeing a lot of sales on these reissue figures, and a lot of that has to do with there's not a ton of demand because only a small segment of people still need these figures, but they do a full production run. When they do a full production run, that's how you know it's a full production run, because they're sitting on the market for almost a year because there's not enough new collectors that need it and not enough speculators willing to buy up the stock and sit on them for 3 to 5 years. So now getting to the reissue of Thomas and any other reissues that they do, this might slow down their reissue from Fanstoys. Thomas is getting reissued at $200, which is cheaper than the original $220 that he came out for everywhere. So that is bucking the trend of what they've been trying to do. They've been trying to put their reissue figures out at a higher price than their original. The Swoop came out at a reissue price of like $220 to $250, and then they wanted $300 later. Now it's on sale, but the original Swoop price was around $200 back in the day. So this being cheaper than its original price says a couple things. The first issue of this, when they put it out originally, was already overpriced, and then they're putting it out now for $200 and dialing it back a bit so that they can actually sell this thing. And that is the beginning of finding a lower price of Fanstoys, a more reasonable price of Fanstoys. And I know it has to do because of that KO. Now we get into this Tesla 2.0. Now this figure came out, a lot of people felt overpriced, 220, 240, 260, depending on where you're buying it. And now he's on sale everywhere. So he's on sale down to about 140 at some places, 160 at some places. So with this, that is showing that competition from X-Transbots is fighting this to go down. A lot of people are just happy with getting X-Transbots for 130 and not spending 220 on this, meaning that they're lowering their price and reducing their price. So it's not KO that brought this price down, it's X-Transbots. And nobody wants to admit it. I'll admit it. Now with Hannibal. Now here's the thing. This is when you're going to find out no competition, a Fanstoys figure, nobody's made. You cannot get this figure in masterpiece scale. You can get a chug version, you can get some other different options out there, and you can get the one and just pull the one right off of the Titan class Hasbro. But a full-on, high-quality, well-painted, masterpiece scale version of Cerebros, which, yeah, it's not the US version, it's the Japanese version, but still, this figure's not been made. We'll see how this performs. Does this get clearanced out in a few months? Now I think the question is, what will the price be on these future releases? Will these be corrected and lowered? There is another factor that might actually lower these, and it's not the KOs, it's something else we're about to talk about, but the future releases of new figures might be lower. I'm pretty sure all of the reissues are going to come out at a more reasonable price, and then they'll even get cheaper after a while, and then I start to wonder, will they back off at reissues? But new ones, here's going to be a problem. We're entering into a really difficult financial time. And it's not just the US, it's the entire world. And we're at the beginning of this. So let's take a closer look at this chart. GDP is down in the US in Q1. There's absolutely nothing. There's no indicator showing that the trend is going to be bucked anytime soon. So as we continue into these down GDPs, this decrease in economic output from the US and other countries also, you're going to see less and less and less demand of high-end collectibles such as Fanstoys. And with this, I want to point out something that people don't want to talk about, but we're in a recession. When you see that little line down there, and a couple of them as it keeps going, quarter 2, 3, and 4, and they're all negative, 8 negative quarters will make a depression. Nobody wants to hear that word. You will never hear it on the news until years later, but it's a possibility. And if that happens, prices will go down, but I worry about an even bigger implication. So we have tough economic conditions. We have low price alternatives of high-end collectibles, and KO companies sometimes go overboard. So I'm guessing that Fanstoys does production runs of about 5,000 to 6,000. Maybe reissues are lower, like 4,000. But of course, if they don't share that information, we all have to speculate. So when you think about this and you think about the amount that we know that some distributors take in, several take in 400 of Fanstoys items, so you start adding that up, that's where you can get 5,000 to 6,000 usually. Then you could say KO companies. I believe KO companies produce in the 10,000 range. So not 4,000, not 5,000, but 10,000. If that's true, if they really made 10,000 of these, this will flood the market, and down the road, we could see serious sales on KOs. We saw it with the MP36 KOs. So that gets back to the confidence of the company that's making these KOs. Are they confident that the product's going to sell? Are they confident they're making a quality product? And a lot of this going on is a much better option for the consumer to buy, but then that could start to hurt Fanstoys. When you start thinking about every single figure getting knocked off, we're only knocking off reissues right now. What about when they start knocking off the new figures that come out, and they knock them off quicker, like what's going on with Takara? See, one of those things, everybody wants to talk about Fanstoys is better Takara. Well, KO companies are looking at that, and they're like, well, let's give up on Takara or slow down on Takara and look at Fanstoys. And that's what's going on right here. Why are they going to waste their time knocking off skids from Takara so they could sell it for $40 when they can knock off Fanstoys and sell it for $80 to $100? Just think about that. The part count different? Yeah. Is the paint level different? Maybe not. Maybe. But why would they bother with Takara on certain releases? Why not go to Fanstoys? Lastly, if they start KOing any of the new releases, because they're keeping it to reissues, which I think is not bad. Fanstoys has had time to make their money. They've made their money. But if we're keeping it to the reissues, then it won't affect Fanstoys as much. But if they start knocking off the new figures and knock them off quickly, Fanstoys might give up. Or they might slow down. They might change their path. Something could change at Fanstoys. So I'm starting to think that maybe if they're only doing reissues, that it's not as big of a deal to Fanstoys. But the reissue prices are coming down. But we will find out if they actually knock off a new figure. That could be detrimental, a much bigger problem. I love KOs, I buy KOs, but I'm not going to deny the fact that they can cause some negatives to the original company. So what do you think about this whole situation with these KOs? It's a reality. It's no longer a rumor. It's no longer just something being talked about. There's real money involved here and real stakes. And during a time of poor economic conditions, we're getting a cheaper option. But is Fanstoys going to be able to move their product? Yes, actually. A lot of the pre-orders for Thomas are sold out, the officials. So maybe it won't hurt them in the long run. But what do you think? In the comments below, like, subscribe, Targaryen Hanger out.